Okay, in this After Effects lesson, we're going to look at the introduction to masks. So go ahead and import your files over. I'm going to bring the teal square down into my timeline to create a composition because I want that to be my size. I'm going to right-click, go into my composition settings, and I want to change my duration to, let's change that to 2 seconds. I'm going to delete that whole thing and do 200 for 2 seconds. And click out. 2 seconds. Okay. And I'm going to grab my red fire movie clip and drag it underneath. So what the masks do is if we use the pen tool or the shape, and with that we put that on our foreground, which is my teal, not my red fire. So on my teal, create a shape, and you can see it makes the area around the shape transparent. And if you want to be the opposite, you do subtract, and now all the shape, all the area inside the shape is going to be transparent. So now if you want to change your shape, you might have to click outside, and right here there's a circle. So if I move this shape now, I'm going to move my entire background, or my entire foreground, I should say. So we want to make sure it's a square. Therefore, what we want to do is we're going to animate the path within. So make sure it's square like that, and not that circle that we just saw, like that. See it? And then when you click inside, you see it moves the entire. And sometimes when you're doing that on add, you don't see it. See, we're moving it around, but we don't even know it because we're on the add portion of the square. I mean, of the mask. All right, so let me undo that. Let me undo my mask. Let me make my foreground a little bit larger. And let's use our pen tool now to create a mask. I'm going to make like a star shape. And you can move these points around by clicking on each point, dragging. Now if we want to go and click all of those to where we are moving just the shape, then we can either double click, which you can see that these are all squares, and the other way is, let me click off of that to deselect it. See, there's the circle. And go back into the double click up here, and now we're on the square. So there, it should be deselected now. Another way to do it is option click. So there you see it changes all the squares, and then that should allow us to hit that again. Option click, and then move that around, and yes, we're in business. All right, so let's go ahead and animate it now. Let's go ahead and move this to where we want it, and we're going to go into our masks. Oh yeah, let me close this up first. Now while I got my teal square layer selected, I'm going to hit M for mask, and that will show my mask 1. And now if I hit it again, the M again, then it closes it up. If I hit M twice, M, then that brings up the mask and the properties. So let's go ahead and give it a keyframe. So click the stopwatch, give it a keyframe on the first frame here. We'll move it 1 second, and we'll move it down here. And we'll move it to the 2 second mark, and we'll move it up here. So now I've got an animated mask. Now let's put a mask within the mask. So what we're going to do is make sure you're still on your teal square, and I'm going to add a circle, the ellipse, and now once I click and drag on the circle, you should see a mask come down here. So now it says mask 2. I'm going to close this one up. I'm going to open this one to see the properties. So let's go ahead and animate this path. So let's click the stopwatch on the first frame, and as that starts moving, oh, first thing I want to do is I want to actually change the add to subtract. Therefore, I'm going to delete anything off of this mask now. So let's go ahead and move that a little bit. Let me change over to my selection tool and move this around. I'm going to try to keep it within the star shape. So I'm going to just try to keep it in there. Maybe fall around a little bit. You can kind of see that it subtracts everything within that. Yeah. All right, now let's try the mass expansion. I'm going to go ahead and make that a lot smaller so you can kind of see it as a small ball kind of bouncing around in there. Let's give it a keyframe here. Maybe move it a couple frames. Make it get big. A couple frames. Maybe get real small so we can hardly see it. Give it kind of a pop. So there it's going, and pop. Maybe move it around a little bit further. Give it another keyframe. Let's try another pop. Make it big. And then maybe back to its normal size. And maybe like about there. And let's try to maybe make it bounce around, give it some quick movement here. So under the mask path, I'm going to give it a keyframe. Move it a couple frames. And I'm going to move it maybe over to this end. Give it a couple frames. Maybe bounce it over here. A couple frames. And move over here. So there you can kind of see it kind of bouncing around, changing the size, popping, bouncing all over the place inside. So that's a mask within a side of a mask. And if you want to turn that mask off, you can toggle the visibility of the mask path. So we can click on that. Therefore, you can kind of just preview it without that. Let me see if I can give it a preview. I'm going to hit the space bar for preview. And you can kind of see how it works. Maybe one more thing before I stop here. Let me try. Let me give you the first star. So I'm going to go into mask 1, and I'm going to give the star a mask expansion. I'm going to click on my path so you can see it. So you can see here's the gold path, and as I give expansion, I'm expanding outward. Okay, let me go ahead and animate that too. Expansion, click on that, and then maybe about here we'll go back to 0. And let's try feathering. So let's try giving it some feathering, maybe about, let's start out with a bunch, like about 180. And we'll start out, we'll give that a keyframe, so hit the stopwatch on the opacity, give it a few frames, maybe put another keyframe and hold, and then we'll move it a few more frames, and let's go ahead and move the, whoops, and I was hitting the mask opacity. Did I not give myself a mask feather keyframe? Let me try this again. So let's give the mask feather a keyframe. We'll move it a little bit, and then move it back down to maybe down to like 20. There before you got a little bit of one. And we'll move over here, and then we'll move back to 0. And there you kind of see it how sharp it gets without the feathering. So there's a little bit of feathering. All right, let's try preview. And you kind of see feathering and masks within masks. And we'll call that the end of this lesson.